This could be potentially a travesty if it's escalated. The Israeli military strikes Harat Harik, which is a town in the capital of Lebanon in Beirut, killing one person, which is saying it's a senior Hezbollah commander. Now, this strike is in response to an attack inside Israel near the Syrian border, where in the Golan Heights that killed 12 children and teenagers, and it was blamed on Hezbollah. However, Hezbollah has denied being a part of this bombing, and I happen to believe them regarding that they never took no credit in striking Israel. They always take credit in striking Israel, and this one was not the case. Now, what does this mean for the long run in regards to a wider regional war? Who is behind the military engagement of Lebanon and who does it benefit? And also, well, what will this mean for the Netanyahu administration in the long run as well? We have a lot to talk about. Let's get right to it. And here's the headline: Israel said to target senior Hezbollah commander in a strike in Beirut. This is from Reuters. The Israeli military said it carried out a targeted strike in Beirut on Tuesday against a Hezbollah commander it said was responsible for a strike in the Golan Heights that killed 12 children and teenagers at the weekend. Now, remember, like I said, the evidence for this being Hezbollah is coming from the Israeli military. And right now, we can basically say that the Israeli military and its government are just as trustworthy as Hamas. I'm not going to just believe that this was Hezbollah because they said so. We need more of that. When it comes to war, ladies and gentlemen, you would want extraordinary evidence of someone's culpability, right? Because lives are at stake here. And in this regard, hundreds of thousands of lives, millions of lives, if we were to engage a war with Lebanon, something that Israel cannot do on their own. This would mean that the United States would be direct involved. And it's what Israel always wanted. It's what Saudi Arabia always wanted. This is not just a war for Israel, ladies and gentlemen. It's a war for Saudi Arabia and the Gulf because they believe that the Sunni branch should eliminate the Shia branch, which are led by who? Israel's preconceived enemies in Iran, Syria, and Lebanon. A loud blast was heard and a plume of smoke could be seen rising above the southern suburbs. The stronghold of the Lebanese armed group Hezbollah at about 7:40 p.m. Now, this isn't the first time. I mean, it's not, but this is a huge deal because it actually is targeted in Beirut, the capital. And this is trying to get Hezbollah to react so that the United States can intervene because Israel can't defeat Hezbollah on their own. They just can't. They're not capable, military capable. Now, right here is a map showing all the bombings that are taking place. The blue is where Israel has bombed. This is Lebanon. This is Israel. And as you can see, this is the border right here. Right here is the border. And this is where the bombing is taking place. It's mostly cluster bombings close by. But as you can see, there's far reach here, all the way up to the north, even near Jazim, and as far as Jaha. That's far north of Lebanon. But as you can see, Lebanese fighters, rocket fire, can reach Israel pretty far themselves near Mount Meron, and also as far south as Yanka or Kaif Yasif. So basically, this is a disaster waiting to happen. As you can see, look at this right here. Here's Damascus. This is Syria, right? And here's Jordan, by the way. Okay, is Israel. Most of these, but the yellow is where Hezbollah has hit. Blue is where Israel has hit. And it's almost keeping in line. It's almost like a tit for tat sort of thing here, especially along the eastern border right here. right near Sadat Musevin and um, the Huming Castle. I mean, it's just it's almost like whoever strikes will strike back, but we won't escalate. Nothing is escalating. I mean, the war has been escalating gradually, but I think Israel is right now at a crossroads because the Netanyahu administration is not lasting long. Usually, with every huge war, Israel changes prime ministerships. But Netanyahu did the job. The job was to engage and to expel the Arabs out of Israel. Well, mission accomplished. Just like Bush in Afghanistan. I'm sorry, Iraq. Mission accomplished on the ship, even though it was a failure, unmitigated failure. Netanyahu belongs in The Hague, but he knows he'll never see a day in prison because nobody's got the guts to arrest him, forcibly arrest him. He came to the United States unscathed and left unscathed. So these are all the bombings that are happening here, and it's basically just uh, you know bombings near an artillery near rocket launchers. Um, Nothing long range really. I mean, you may have some targets, and that's because the Israeli military have the advantage in regards to long range fire. But Hezbollah, unlike Hamas, has a standing military. The Al Qassam brigades. Um, I'm sorry, the I forgot the name of the military arm. It's Al Qassam brigades, I think. Not too sure, but anyway, um, yes, they have the capabilities to strike inside um, Israel, and Al Qassam brigades is a Palestinian faction near Hamas. Um, the Lebanon brigade is the boy, am I missing them? Fourth Brigade, Fourth Infantry Brigade, the Fourth Infantry Brigade. Sorry about that. I'm toasted. It's 90 degrees outside with 60% humidity. So no doubt. I mean, it's really hot here. It's been hot like the last freaking 5 weeks. Anyway, in Lebanon, unlike the Al Qassam brigades and Hamas, can't reach very far into Israel, but Hezbollah can, and they got the weaponry to do so. Now, the United States earlier this year, led by the Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, has basically stated that to the Israeli officials in the Knesset and to the Netanyahu war cabinet that they should not escalate things with Lebanon. You do what you want with the Palestinians. We won't get in the way there. That's only because an escalation with a full-scale war with Lebanon means the United States directly becomes involved because they know that Israel cannot defend itself against Hezbollah and Hassan Nasrallah. Hassan Nasrallah has been very patient so far. And this is going back to 2022, a lot of these bombings. And so, here's a great article by Foreign Affairs. I'll put it in the description. Hezbollah doesn't want a war with Israel. And the United States can reinforce restraint. Now, this was just a couple of days ago, before the strike into Beirut. A good article by Mohammed Hage Ali, by the way. Again, I'll put in the description. Over the past few weeks, an all-out conflict between Israel and the Lebanese militant group Hezbollah has begun to appear more likely. Now, again, this is the 26th, so this is 4 days before the bombing of Beirut. In May, Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant suggested that the country might use expanded military means to quash Hezbollah. And according to media reports, the Israeli military had drawn up plans for a limited ground assault to enforce a buffer zone at its northern border with Lebanon. Both Israel's far-right finance minister, Bezalel Smotrich, and National Security Minister, Itamar Ben Gvir, alike called Dracula, have openly called for an invasion of Lebanon. Now, I'm going to be talking about this in just a minute because, for those who are saying that Netanyahu is dangerous, what's coming next is national suicide for the country, if it happens. And they are coming from the OAZ um, Yehudit, and they are a Kahanist group, much more far right than the Look Good Party. I mean, to the insane part of the far right. I don't even know if they're traditional conservative. I wouldn't think so. These people are biblical Talmudic worshippers. And what I mean by that is that Netanyahu is not a Kahanist. He can slaughter Palestinians, but he doesn't want to slaughter the Arabs worldwide. This group does. Now, why is this a concern? Because if you read the latest on what's appearing, what's coming. What's coming is basically a a um a fear that this group, the Otzma Yehudit, are basically wanting a full scale war with Lebanon, and that the leaders of this group, like Ben Gvir and Bezalel Smotrich, um, want a full scale war. And this is really dangerous because it's basically calling for the expulsion of Arabs in the Middle East. Not just the expulsion, but the liquidation, the killing of all Arabs in the Middle East. And like I said, what's coming after Trump and what's coming after Netanyahu is far worse because we're engaging into full scale fascism here. And you know, this group is basically really dangerous in that if they are to gain power in the Knesset, and they're slowly gaining power, we are basically going to um, see the real horror in regards to what this group could entail in the future and what this will mean for the United States in general, because the United States is basically going to, back Israel no matter what. But if they're going to go this far, meaning a war with Lebanon, this could mean that by default, the United States will go into war with Iran, which I'm going to. This is the reason why I'm almost, hesitant and speechless at this point, because I've I've warned people going back to my old hack channel. You could see in the latest news regarding what I predicted was that after the Palestinians are expelled out of Gaza City, that the war would extend beyond Lebanon, and then by default the United States will get involved. And when the United States get involved, that means Syria and Iran are going to defend Lebanon because they are basically one and the same. And this is not like Iraq. This is not like Afghanistan. It's not like Syria. This is not like Libya. A war with Iran would mean close to anywhere between 5 to 10 years. The Persians are a fighting force. They are not like the Arabs. They can fight, and they have the military means to basically use against the United States and the coalition partners. They'll lose in the long run because it's just too much. But the damage will be extraordinary on the U.S. side, in the Middle East side, and this will create a fundamentalist problem in the long run, Arab and Shia terrorism. I mean, the Arab world will be at full scale war with the United States. Now, this would mean that Saudi Arabia has to have control over the Gulf, like Bahrain, United Arab Emirates, Algeria, and basically Algeria not part of the Gulf, but countries that are close by, like Egypt, Turkey, they would all have to basically step aside, and that's not going to happen. It's just not, because Turkey basically declared war against Israel regarding the Palestinians. What do you think is going to happen when the United States declares war on Syria, Lebanon, and Iran? Yeah, the Gulf is going to stay out of it due to ideological differences, but will Egypt intervene? Will Jordan intervene? Algeria? Libya? I mean, Libya probably can't. What's left of Syria? And this is what, you know, Israeli foreign policy dictated should happen in the 1980s in the Oded Yinon plan, which a lot of people said was a big conspiracy theory. It was going to come true. I don't know. Look, let's not me go off on a tangent, but let's read more about the Otzma Yehudit. This is from the Times of Israel. Okay, this is February of 2024. Accusing left of forsaking Jewishness, Likud campaigns with Otzma Yehudit in Tel Aviv. Despite the prime minister's calls for unity during war, parties tap into secular religious divisions in the metropolis and urge preservation of its Jewish heritage and character. Tel Aviv does not belong only to leftists, the campaign stated in a recent Facebook post, accusing the city's secular liberal residents of trying to push out their religious counterparts. Now, the Otzma Yehuda, the chief, Itamar ben Gvir, who's a disciple of the late Rabbi Meir Kahane, who once was here in New York City and was assassinated by El Said Nozer. Why? And that was considered the first act of Arab terrorism inside the United States, because Rabbi Meir Kahane preached that there should be no Arabs in Israel. And Israel was afraid of him because it's bad for PR. It's also bad for the Israelis continuing to punish the Palestinians because this would bring attention, because they don't want to be seen as racist. Netanyahu and Ariel Sharon and Ehud Barak and every other prime minister that was in charge of the position doesn't want the world to think that they're a racist amendment. They want to say, hey, we're victims. But you can't say you're victims when you have people like Rabbi Meir Kahane or Ben Gvir at the helm. These are obvious nut jobs. In other words, you're bringing too much attention. We don't mind you being in the war cabinet. And then he takes him out, Netanyahu, Ben Gvir, right? But now Ben Gvir is gaining steam. Well, I'll get into that in a second. Ben Gvir, who became national security minister, has repeatedly butted heads with both the White House and Netanyahu. What does that tell you? Threatening to bolt the government of Israel's military offensive in Gaza does continue at full strength. Otzma Yehudit is running in dozens of cities across the country, and some of them alone and some of them collaboratively. The Otzma Yehudit. Now, who are they? Well, they're a far-right ultra-nationalist, Kahanist, and anti-Arab political party based in Israel. They're based upon the Catch Party, which was outlawed, based upon the principles of the late Rabbi Meir Kahane. And they also believe in the forced deportation of even Jews who are associated with Arabs. They don't believe in intersex marriage. They believe in Jewish supremacy. And if you think Netanyahu believes in Jewish supremacy, he really doesn't. He doesn't believe in expanding the borders much, but he does believe in expansionism, but not to the point of this group. This group wants to take over Jordan, the Mediterranean, parts of Syria, Lebanon, and they want to kill everybody involved. Not forcibly expulse them, but kill everybody. That's how dangerous this group is. And so we have to give them the attention that they deserve because they are now the second most popular party or the third most popular party in the Knesset. And earlier this year, just a couple of weeks ago, Gallant changed his stance regarding Lebanon. And let me read you that. Gallant, Israel not looking for war with Hezbollah. Diplomatic route always better. Well, that's in direct contradiction to the Otzma Yehudit. Defense Minister Yoav Gallant said on Friday, this was June, by the way, of 2024, is not looking for war with Hezbollah and that a diplomatic solution was preferable. As the far right Otzma Yehudit indicated, it would bolt the government, bolt from the Knesset, if Israel shied away from launching a full-scale attack on the Iranian-backed Lebanese terror group Hezbollah. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not saying this is basically a conspiracy, a Jewish conspiracy. It's not. I'm reading you from Jewish press, Israeli press. You could say what you want about the liberal ideological differences between, say, the Times of Israel and the Netanyahu government. It doesn't matter. It's coming from its own source, its own country source, right? And am I saying that the Otzma Yehudit are gaining influence? And this is the reason why Netanyahu's war cabinet attacked Beirut today? Maybe. Netanyahu is an opportunist. In other words, he tries to please everybody, even this ghoul group. And Netanyahu does not like Ben Gvir. He doesn't like Benzamil Smotrich. He doesn't like Eli Cohen. And these people are dangerous, far dangerous than Netanyahu and Yoav Gallant or any other prime minister before him, like Ehud Barak or Ariel Sharon. I mean, these people, I can't put it enough, that if they are the primary party in Israel, we are looking at World War III, nuclear. I'm not exaggerating. I'm going by the words of Ben Gvir himself. I'm going by the words of Benzamil Smotrich himself. They are calling for the nuclear destruction of Lebanon, of Gaza, of Syria, and Iran. I am not joking. Nevertheless, Gallant reiterated that Israel was making preparations and planning for a wider conflict and the ball was in Hezbollah's court. And because Hezbollah and Nasrallah are very keen mind, Nasrallah is not a dummy. He's well-read. He's an intelligent man. Hezbollah is not a reactionary group like Hamas or like the Palestinian Jihad, right? They're much more in the planning stages. You know, they'll take a bombing or two and wait, and then they'll use a precision strike. Israel is now bombing residential neighborhoods in Beirut to goad Hezbollah into a full-scale war. And the Arab community are saying that Hezbollah is cowards, that Hamas is, the only one standing up. No, Hezbollah is smart here. What they're doing is showing the world just how dangerous Israel is, that they're willing to kill residents, civilians who have no part of Hezbollah, to show you the murderous regime of the Netanyahu government. I would say that's good press. Now it's on the Hezbollah court. Yeah, it's up to Hezbollah now. What if they don't respond? Does Israel ramp up the attacks? What does the Otzma Yehudit group do? The defense minister's remarks came hours after a tense cabinet meeting in which National Security Minister Itamar Ben Gvir, the leader of Otzma Yehudit, criticized Gallant and Netanyahu for supporting a deal with Hezbollah to avert all-out war in the north. That is the reason why I'm reading the article to you, because it shows that there is a difference between the Otzma Yehudit and the Likud party, in which the Otzma Yehudit wants a full-scale war, World War III. ladies and gentlemen. The media is not going to talk to you and not tell you just how dangerous and how close we are. And what this means for the long run. What does this mean for the long run? And why I'm doing this video? Because, ladies and gentlemen, Ben Gvir could be the next prime minister of Israel. And to show what I'm talking about, this is an article from July 12th. Ben Gvir's preferred successor to Netanyahu among backers of Prime Minister's current bloc. This is what I meant in previous videos, stating back a year, how dangerous this group is. Now, we've had great minds from the Libertarian Institute, Will Porter, Connor Freeman, Kyle Anzalone. I mean, Freeman and Kyle Anzalone deserve the Nobel Peace Prize for what they're doing. Patrick McFarland, of course, the venerable Scott Orden, even Whitney Webb and others like Rainier Colick and Abby Martin. They're doing the Lord's, Isabella Forella, they're doing the Lord's work for what they're doing. That's an atheist, me saying that right away. But pretty contradictory, but you get what I mean. They're bringing attention to this, but I mean, we need more voices. We need big stations to talk. This is dangerous, folks. I mean, this is really bad here. I mean, I don't know what else to say. National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir, leader of the far-right Otzma Yehudit party, is the preferred candidate among voters of coalition parties to lead the right-wing pro-Benjamin Netanyahu bloc after he is no longer in politics. A new poll, the preferred candidate. This guy who wants World War III with nuclear devices involved is the preferred. This is how lost Israel is. I'm talking about the government, not the people. And, I reported earlier today, there's a big issue regarding the arrest of 9 Israeli military from the 9 members of the IDF by the police, and these settlers, these people who are part of Ben Gvir's group, the Otzma Yehudit, and of course you have the settlers, the Haredi, are storming the police stations and taking it over. So the country's at a moral, they're fracturing within. And this is what happens when you have insane people like Ben Gvir heading the country and also being the preferred candidate. The Marav survey found that 24% of respondents prefer Ben Gvir, followed by ex-Mossad chief Yossi Cohn, and Bezalel Smotrich, head of the far-right religious Zionism party, who is also involved with Ben Gvir's Otzma Yehudit party. Though Netanyahu made Ben Gvir a minister to bring Otzma Yehudit into the coalition, the premier has reportedly shown distrust in him, excluding him from key security meetings and refusing to give him more say over handling the ongoing war in Gaza Strip than other security cabinet members. Opposition leader the Yesh Atid under MK Yair Lapid has 13 seats, down from the 24 currently holds, because guess what's happening? Ben Gvir's Otzma Yehudit, which has 6 seats in the Knesset today, was predicted to jump to 10 seats in the poll. Smotrich's religious Zionism, which has 7 seats in the Knesset, was predicted to plummet to just 4, the minimum needed for entry into the Knesset. But that doesn't matter, because Smotrich is basically going to jump ship if, religious Zionism doesn't, if it folds, and go with the Otzma Yehudit party. Now, the opposition parties, like the Labour Party or the Arab coalition, are not gaining any seats. Anything that could threaten the top 3 groups. So, as you can see, the Otzma Yehudit are basically so far right that not only are they off the table, they plummeted through the fucking floor. And that even far right nationalist groups like the Likud or the Yeminia and the Religious Zionist Party, they have their limits. They're basically teetering off the table, slowly going down, plummeting. But Otzma Yehudit went down 23 floors already. And this is a sick bunch of people. So now it's up to the United States. God, we're in trouble. It's up to the United States to basically bring some sanity into this. Now, it's almost too coincidental. This is happening in an election year. And Kamala Harris, who is not even close to being a progressive, I would consider her a neocon. Her police record and record as a prosecutor suggests that she is far right. She is not left. She's not a socialist. She is a dangerous woman. On the other hand, Donald Trump. Donald Trump's an imbecile. Let's put it that way. I'm not worried about Donald Trump. I am if he becomes president. However, it's what, like Netanyahu, it's what's behind him. And when you have America First leaders like J.D. Vance, Lauren Boebert, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Matt Gaetz, and then you have people like, who are considered like the Otzma Yehudit, people like Lindsey Graham and Tom Cotton, who won all-scale war with Iran. These are very dangerous times we're living in. The one thing about the Democrats is that they're a warmongering group. They're not progressive. They don't uphold to traditional democratic values. That's why I said that there's no left and right anymore. These people are fanatics. But Biden's administration doesn't jump into a war and full-scale bloodshed. It's gradual. And you could see it happening. It's happening. It's much more visible. The conservative parties, and these are not conservatives, these are extremists. They abandoned the traditional values of Reagan and, made Reagan look like, a liberal. These people that are coming next want full-scale bloodshed immediately, just like the Otzma Yehudit. They consider, to show you how sick and insane Ben Gvir and Smotrich are, they consider Netanyahu a liberal. Wow. You're not killing enough. That's what that's what they claim. And they don't like the United States. Let me reiterate that fact for you. In the United States, which, by the way, the government of the United States is a bunch of cowards, and I'll say that right to your face. Now, you're not going to see this video because I'm a nobody, but it'll be preserved for its content for all of time as long as I'm up. I will continue to denigrate and criticize the United States federal government and the intelligence services. You're all a bunch of sellouts. You're criminals. You're insane. I consider you my enemy, my sworn enemy, because you don't represent the will of the people. You represent the dollar, the power, the intoxicating allure of power. And with that comes the death of people, human people. And I'm going to be speaking out against them because much like the Libertarian Institute, I am anti-war to my core. And I will speak out against the crimes of Israel, Saudi Arabia, and the United States, because I consider them the axis of evil, all three. It's not that I'm an anti-patriot or an anti-Semite or an anti-Arab, because I don't speak in criticism of the people. I speak in criticism of the government and its military, which are being directed to uphold the orders of the government. Well, now the United States can get involved and basically say, Blinken could force Israel to basically say no. I mean, Israel holds a wide shield of power in American Congress, but they don't have that same power when it comes to the Department of Defense. Now, a lot of people in the Department of Defense and the intelligence services are not beholden to just Israel. Let me be very clear on that. So even with Israel's very immense power inside the United States when it comes to Congress, they don't have that within the Department of Defense and the intelligence services because they basically could say, we're not engaging with Iran. And to prove my point, this is what happened under the Obama administration. Netanyahu made the claim he came to the United Nations. Remember with that cartoon of a bomb that Iran is basically building a nuclear bomb, and they found out it was not a bomb factory, but a carpet factory. Obama said no. I'm not going to engage in a Iraq 2.0. One of the very few good things I could say about Obama was that he didn't engage with Iran. Now, of course, he bombed Libya and Syria, which makes him a war criminal in my eyes and a deplorable individual. But he said no to Netanyahu. But before he left the presidency, he gave he gave Israel at the time the largest military aid deal in history. Still a sellout for AIPAC, but even they have their limits because Obama probably got word by the Department of Defense saying that, hey, it's not feasible on the geographic, just based on geographics. It's not a easy war with Iran. Iran is a very mountainous terrain, especially to its south. It would pose a lot of risk to engage with Iran, even in the Straits of Hormuz. The navy that Iran has, it's like I said, it's not Iraq, it's not Afghanistan. This would be a long war and a war that would cost. And we don't have the money. We just don't. We're broken financially and fundamentally and mentally, spiritually. All right, listen, I've drawn on long enough, but really, we need to start paying attention to this. And for those who follow me, please report the issue, do a video, write an article. I have faith in you, full unadulterated faith that you can make a difference here. Now, you may say, I'm a small channel, nobody's going to read it. If you can get to one person, guess what? You got to one person. And maybe that person becomes 2, and then 5, and then 10. Hey, you just started a fire, and now you may start a blaze. And this is how it's going to work. If not, then you can't say that you tried. Be true to your word. Spread the word. Talk about the issues that matter. Speak out against our government and the country's governments that are acting not in accordance with the human community, but their own selfish desires, which are costing the risk of millions of lives. Thank you very much for watching the video today. See you in the next video. Stay safe, everybody.